I was going to start this video with me absolutely ripping it on Guitar Hero. Then I remembered that I'm awful at Guitar Hero, so we're not going to do that. Let's jump straight in. Afternoon. It's currently a lovely rainy Saturday. It's Friday. So currently, these quarantines mess with my head. I don't know what days are what. It's currently a rainy Friday afternoon. Can't really get out and shoot, mainly because we're in lockdown. So we're going to go through some gig photography stuff, a couple of tips on when you're shooting, but we're going to mainly focus on how I edit gig photos and how you can to get the most out of the photos. Let's jump straight in. Firstly and most importantly, make sure you are shooting in RAW. It will make such a difference to your photos. I know my laptop's going to die. Shut up. I know that gets thrown in your faces quite a lot on YouTube and tutorials and everything like that, but shoot in RAW. The amount of data that goes into the image makes such a difference, and it makes it so much easier to edit gig photos. So yeah, shoot in RAW. Second tip for when you're actually on site shooting is look for lighting. Look for where the lights are, look for where the angles, look for how they're being used to illuminate certain band members or musicians or whoever it is, or whatever it is you're shooting. Look for how the lighting is affecting them and then work with that. So if you can angle yourself so they are blocking a light and that creates a silhouette, that's a good shot. If you can get it so they're being illuminated from a side profile or however, yeah. Look for lighting and it will make a massive difference to your photos. Okay, so jumping into Lightroom, I've picked out a couple of photos from my most recent gig shoot, which was in Germany for a band called I Choose Hell. Quite an intimate gig, so I could get close to the stage, I could get in the crowd a lot, so I've got a few different shots here. Before we get into it, these are all photos that I have already edited. They are all on my Instagram feed, so you can go check them out over there, or on my website. All of it is linked below, so you can check them out there. So I roughly know how I'm going to be editing these photos, but yeah, we're going to go through it step by step. First thing is to play around with the temperature slider. I like to look for two distinctive colours in the photos when editing them. As long as the lighting isn't just one colour base, you can usually find two colours in there. So play around with the slider, slide it up and down until you find two colours you like. So towards this end we've got a bit of a green and orange contrast going on there, so I'll play with the tint as well. I do have a whole bunch of gig presets that I've made myself, but I made them all while editing these photos originally, so we're not going to touch them. We're not going to use them at all. However, I would normally be using those presets. One thing you do want to be mindful of as well is the skin tones. You don't want them blown out too much. Sometimes, depending on the lighting, that is inevitable. If the whole room is being illuminated in blue, it's going to be quite hard for you to maintain a normal skin tone, but just try not to blow out too much. So now I've adjusted the temperature, I'm just going to make some basic edits to this. From here, I'm then going to go into the tone curve. I'm going to drop in 4 points, like so. I like to immediately bring this black up here because it just fades out the blacks. Crush them a bit more like that. And just adjust the curve to the first time I like it. So that's looking pretty good so far. Notice I'm really focusing on the blacks at the moment because crushing the blacks makes a big distinction between the subject and the background. So if you can see, if I pull that all the way up, the whole photo is kind of flat there. If I bring them down, it really distincts the subjects from the background. I'm going to make sure you're focusing on that. Okay, so now I've got the general tone curve how I want it. I'm going to up the contrast, up the saturation a bit because I want a bit more colour popping in this. I'm also going to bring up the vibrance. Okay, moving down to split toning, we can see the two images we've got here. So the highlights are quite orange. I'm just going to select my colour, and the shadows are more of a teal colour we've got going on here, tealy green. Just going to find the two colours I want, and we're massively blown out at the moment. I'm going to find them there, and then I'm going to play with the saturation of each, just till I get to a point where I like it. I really want to focus on having two contrasting colours in the photo, because if the whole thing was one colour, it's a bit more boring. It adds a bit more depth if you've got two or even more colours going on. Play around the split toning until that's in the position I want it. I'm then going to sharpen it up a bit. Not too much. You can see it's the hand and the guitar that's really in focus here, so I'm really on those sharpened up. And the thing I leave till last is vignetting. So I've got these vignetting presets in my Lightroom. I'm just going to flick through them and see how I want it. If I didn't want to use them, you can just come down to effects and you can choose how much vignetting you want yourself. So I'm going to pop on quite a light vignette. Vignetting in these sorts of photos really isolates your subject, but it brings your focus to them, so that's why it's quite good to do. This one's got quite a lot of light around the edges anyway, so I don't want to do too much vignette because I don't want it to be too intense. Also going to add in a graduated filter up in this corner here. And I am just going to bring the exposure down slightly. Bring that more. The reason I'm doing this is because the vignette hasn't made as much of a difference here than it has up in the other two corners, and I just want to now affect this corner. The reason I'm not doing it up here is because the guitarist's head and hair is obviously primarily up in this corner, so I want a lot of focus up there. So I'm only doing this down here just to concentrate on that. There you go, you can see before and after. You can see how much we can actually affect this image. If you've got a raw file with a lot of data, you can really change around the colours, get it exactly how you want it. And yeah, that's the point where I'm happy with that. So moving on to the next image, we're going to go on through the same steps again. And so we're going to play around with the temperature until I find the point I like. You can see it's got a bit of blues here and got a bit of orange again. I'm then going to do my basic adjustments. Brush the blacks. Same thing with the tone curve. I'm going to fade those blacks a bit. I like the way, for this one, if I drop the mid-tones a bit, I'm going to dip that there a bit because that really intensifies that fog. Same again with the mid-tones, bring that down. See, that's really isolating the singer here. So I'm going to put that there, and the highlights. Then I'm going to bring the highlights up because again that's continuing to really isolate the singer. So that is a wavy tone curve. Jesus, someone's been on the lash. So for a photo like this, with the fog and the smoke in the background, adjusting the clarity will adjust how intense the fog is. So if you can see, I bring it down, that kind of makes it seem a lot more foggy. Bring it up, it makes the subjects clearer. So I'm going to bring it up a tad. What about there? So you've still got subjects nice and clear, but you still can tell there's lots of fog there. And the dehaze is going to make a similar sort of effect for this. As you can see how it's differently affecting it. I'm going to pop it so like that. Also, what I was saying earlier about lighting, you can see the way the screamer here is in front of one of the lights, it's really silhouetting him, but the way the singer is being illuminated by lights, it's highlighting her. So you can see how it's affecting different people depending on where you position yourself and where the lighting is. Okay, now I'm going to go down to split toning. Highlights are yellow again. Although I'm not a massive fan of the current colour of this, I'm going to put a bit more of a reddy orange into the highlights. A bit more of a bluey teal into the shadows. And then we're going to adjust. So I don't want to focus on too much on how I'm using the split toning because this isn't about that, it's about the photo as a whole. And there you go, I really like those colours. So now again I'm going to shove on, I'm going to put a bit of medium vignette on that. I want it a bit more intense because I really want to isolate the singer in the middle. And also for this one I'm going to put in a radial filter around the lead singer who's smack bang in the middle of the photo. Take off those adjustments. I'm going to invert it so it focuses on the inside of the filter, not the outside. And I'm going to sharpen it manually here. And I'm also going to pop up the clarity a little bit just on her, just so she pops out of the photo a bit more than everyone else. Usually I'll start with this, I forgot to this time. I'm going to crop this in a little bit. I don't like this sun flare, this light flare here, so I'm going to crop down till that's gone. But I do want the lead singer in the middle. I want her smack bang in the middle. So there, I'm happy with that. I'm going to put on a bit more of a vignette as well. I really want to isolate her and make her pop out of the photo. And there you are, there's the before and after of that shot. Another shot I'm more than happy with. This isn't relevant to any of these photos, but if you've got a really blown out image, black and white can actually be a massive saviour. It's a bit of a cop out, but just shoving it into black and white mode and adjusting the highlights and the shadows, the whites and the blacks, you can actually save a photo quite well. I especially find that if it's really blown out and it's not great, but then you put black and white on it, I like to add a bit of grain to the photo because it gives it a bit more of a vintage retro sort of look. So like that. This one didn't need it, but putting it on there, it's quite a cool effect if you wanted to do it that way. So the next one we're going to edit is this one, which already has two distinct colours in it. So I'm actually going to play around with the slider still, see what other options we've got here, sort of thing. See if I go right the way down there, we've got a bit of red and green. Middle is more red and teal, red and blue, until it's just blown out blue really. So I'm going to pop that there, adjust the tint, if I want, so we'll go that way, it's more red and blue, but I want the teal and red. And I'm going to do my basic adjustments again. This bit you just play around with until you're happy with the basics, till you get a good starting point. Okay, and then tone curve. I always like to fade the blacks a bit, but then crush them at the same time. Now I'm going to do the split toning. As before, we're going to do quite a faint split tone on these ones. It doesn't really need it, I just want to intensify the reds and blues a bit more. To be honest, that probably didn't really need. Yeah, as you can see, that it makes a minor difference to the blues, it makes them pop a bit more. For this one, I think I'm actually going to desaturate a little bit, just because I feel like those colours are a bit intense. I'm going to pop the vibrance up though. It seems a bit counterproductive, but I quite like the effect that gives. And again, vignette. I don't really want a vignette on this one, I have to say. This one I just feel like it looks good as is. And yeah, and there you go, there's the before and after that one. For that one, not massive amounts of difference are made, it just makes the photo pop a bit more. The subject now stands out from the background a bit more than it did. But that one was pretty good straight out of camera. Do one more photo. So for this one, immediately I'm going to crop out this arm because that's massively distracting. And make sure the lead singer is in the centre of the frame. Play around with the colours, see what we can get. Greens and oranges. Really blue and orange. I'm liking the teal and orange sort of look, so we're going to stick with that. Up the contrast, highlight down a bit. Shadows and blacks down to make her pop. Tone curve. Fade the blacks, but crush them. I feel like that's now a bit too intense in that, so we're going to pull that up. I'm actually going to get rid of the contrast for this one. Okay, and then going to do the highlights in intense orange and blues. As you can see, I've done that quite intense straight away just so I can see the colours. I'm now going to adjust the saturation. Just play around with that till I have it. Oh, see, I like. Oh, actually, not even touching the shadow split tone, but pop orange up a little bit more. Going into saturation of the orange, I'm going to pull that out specifically there because that's a bit intense. As I said earlier, I don't want to lose the skin tones too much. Yeah, and this one I'm going to put on a medium vignette for that one to really focus on the subject. Saturation as a whole, I'm going to bump up a little bit. And there's your before and after. Again, not massive amounts of difference. That was again a pretty good one out of camera, but it just makes the subject pop from the background a lot more, isolates her out, and yeah, just gets the colours to where I want them. Final photo isn't exactly a great one. This is one I just wanted to use to prove a point. I've done gigs where I'm only allowed in the pits at the front of the stage, and you can get your angles from down there. If you have the opportunity to get out in the crowd, I highly recommend doing so. Maybe do it toward the last couple of songs when you've got plenty of shots already of the band from the pits. Get out into the crowd, get behind the crowd, and it gives a whole new layer to the photo. It's almost as if you're part. When you look at this photo, it's almost as if you're part of the crowd. You're there witnessing this happen. And especially look for quite cool shots like this where you can capture it through another phone or another lens. We're going to do the exact same again really. We're going to do basic adjustments. I'm going to find two colours, bring the highlights and the shadows down. I'm going to bring the shadows quite far down. I really want to isolate that phone. See how they are? When I'm bringing the whites up, it's really affecting the background, but not really the image we can see in the phone. That's what I want to focus on right now, is I want to focus on that phone. I want everything else is out of focus. I want that phone to be what your eyes are immediately drawn to. This is just my preference of editing. I mean, you might be looking at these thinking you'll be editing them a completely different way, and that's completely fine. That's the whole point of it. It's subjective. But this is how I want to edit these photos and how I want them to look. And then I'm going to put on a radial filter around that phone, and I'm going to sharpen that up. Actually pop on a bit of clarity, because you see how it's affecting the image in the phone. and done, and I'm going to leave that one there. So before and after, yeah, I'm more than happy with that. Makes it pop. You can see again, these hands and the phone massively pop out from the background, whereas before they were kind of blending in. So yeah, that's how I edit gig photos. That's some tips on how to shoot to make it easy for yourself to edit and how to actually do the editing, and hopefully get some banger results. I have to say these are completely different edits to the original ones I did in these photos, but that's because that was 3 months ago now, and then my style has changed since then. How I'm looking at them, I've got a different creative eye now to what I did then, so I want to edit them a bit differently, and that's fine. And at the moment, considering we're all stuck inside, it might give you something to do. Go back through your old work, re-edit some of your photos and see how you can get it. Some previous photos that you thought were a bit naff and didn't bother editing, you might now look at them through your new creative eye and... Excuse the cat. So my video cut out earlier while I was mid-filming and I've got no idea why. So this is future Luke. Basically what I was just saying is that you might look at the photos through a new creative eye and edit them a bit differently. That's about it. So yeah, without further ado, if you like the video, please drop a thumbs up down below. It massively help out. Subscribe if you want to see more of the content, or more of this guy. This is the one that's usually behind the curtain. All the other stuff that YouTubers say to do. If not, I'll see you in the next video. Peace.